If you want to make a cat happy, give him a pound of shrimp and some crab meat. Not that I should be feeding you anyway. You don't even live here. They're leftovers. And you don't live here either. You think you're going to get some of that? Go home, both of you. Beat it. Eat well, buddy. It's the last you'll be getting from me. We're at our secret garage, so let's pull a vehicle out and see what we're driving this week. Looks like we've acquired a Lexus IS model. In this case, the 200t, which stands for turbo. They do make a larger V6, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. This vehicle is made to compete with certain German cars like the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A Series, and Mercedes C Series. In terms of luxury and price, it might compete with some of the Cadillac models as well. It's a nice looking rig if you aren't bothered by this odd looking front grille. The base price starts around $38,000. This was loaded up with almost all the options, so it's just under $45,000. That includes the F Sport package. I'm not going to go into detail on what this includes. It would make the video too long. That's something anyone can do looking up on the internet. On most Lexus vehicles, LED headlights run around $1,100 to $1,700 extra. According to the price sheet, these are LEDs and they're standard, no extra charge. So we're going to take them out in the dark and see how they perform, and we'll do that right now. It's dark enough, so let's see how these headlights perform. They seem bright enough, but I guess we'll see. Here we have the headlights on a wall 100 feet away with the bright setting. Plenty of light. Go down to low beam. Bright enough on the pavement, but it rides rather low to the ground. Brights, low beam. Here we have the high beams on a building 300 feet away with the chain link fence in between. Lots of bright light. A wide spread as well. Now we go to low beam. Bright enough, but doesn't really go out very far. About 180 feet. More than adequate for city driving, but for backcountry roads, you want to stick to the high beams. Low, high. Under the hood is a 4-cylinder turbo cranking out 241 horsepower. Fuel economy is rated at 22 in the city, 32 on the highway with 26 overall. We're going to rack up a lot of miles to see just how accurate those printed figures are, so stay tuned. The transmission is a reliable, proven 8-speed automatic with a manual shift override. That's what the M stands for. Also, if you'd like to shift for yourself, a nice set of paddle shifters on the steering wheel, where they belong, not on the steering column like the Italians do where they don't belong. Thank you for getting it right, Lexus. Below the shifter is a knob giving you eco mode, normal mode, and sport mode. Going a bit further, a knob to get rid of the traction control in a snow mode. The government, in its typical non-wisdom, rates this as a 5-passenger, assuming you can get 3 people in the second row seating. This car is about the same size as a Honda Civic. That's not going to happen, but 2 full-size adults can fit in here pretty good. So no complaints. Speaking of room, you do get a lot of it in the glove box, but only if you take out this monster-sized phone book, owner's manual, and this divider tray. Those 2 items can go in the trunk, where you do get a spare tire, by the way. The gauge cluster is well designed and easy to read. Also, if you put it in the sport mode, make some changes. Press a menu button and you get this. The climate controls are fairly easy to use, mainly push buttons, except for the temperature control, which is finger operated. Not as efficient as knobs, but, well, it works. So I won't complain. On this Lexus, we have a control stick, which gives you different options. And there's the navigation. Which can give you a nice full-size map if you push the right button. On some other Lexus models, you don't get a control stick for the computer system. You get a touchpad like this. This is a photo of a car I tested 2 months ago, a Lexus LC sports car. You run your finger on the surface in order to get the controls you want. It doesn't work very good. Trust me, you're better off with the control stick. That's why instead of this, I prefer this, a control stick like we find on the Lexus IS200t. We get a button to disconnect the auto-dimming mirror, which helps when driving at night. A real clock that works because Lexus clocks work. We did have 2 complaints. Number 1, the sun visors don't slide back, so if the sun is coming in the passenger window, there's no way to block it out. That would cost about 50 cents to fix on a production level. Number 2, on the outside of the body, we have the infamous dirt shelf that collects dirt, mud, grime. That's the bad news. The good news, at least for the driver, there's not enough shelf there to get dirt on your pants. Unfortunately, there's more of a shelf for the rear passengers to get on their pants. So either keep this clean or don't wear white pants. It's not that serious of an issue. I'm just pointing it out because that's what we do here. Okay, enough show and tell. Time to do some driving as well as fuel economy testing. So let's get started. Before we start moving, 2 things I want to point out. Number 1, power steering. Almost all cars today use electric power steering instead of hydraulic because it's more efficient and more economical, less drag on the car. That's the good news. The bad news is, as far as steering feel and performance, almost all power steering systems that are electric simply suck. It's that simple. Not a problem on this Lexus IS. I spoke to some of the Lexus engineers many years ago who said they were converting over to electric steering, but they were going to make sure it had lots of good feel like the hydraulic steerings from yesterday, and they succeeded. Very well, I might add. Good feedback, excellent feel. Not the best I've ever used, but better than any electric system I've ever used. Let's put it that way. Now, if only the Germans could get this, copy it, and put it on their BMWs and Audis, but they haven't, so that's their problem. Number 2, when I test a vehicle, I make it a policy to use the recommended tire pressures so we can get the true performance as the engineers intended. And like many Lexus vehicles, they set the tire pressures rather high here at 36 pounds, which I think is a bit too high, which resulted in a ride that was way too stiff. And frankly, after 5 days of a very rough ride, I just didn't want to take it anymore, so I did what I've done on many other Lexus vehicles. I lowered the tire pressures down on my gauge to 32 pounds per square inch from 36. This helped smooth things out a bit suspension-wise. And as far as handling, I didn't notice any change. Maybe a slight less response in the steering, but nothing an average person would notice. And on our turning circle, I didn't notice much change in cornering ability either. Still doesn't want to spin out. Just a quick disclaimer here, this is not my personal vehicle, it is a factory car that belongs to Lexus. So they want you to drive the vehicle at the tire pressures they specify, 36 pounds. I'm obligated to say that. So let's move on. If you watch my videos, you know we always do the speed bump test to test ride quality, which is improved slightly with the lower tire pressures. So let's see what happens. 25 miles per hour coming up. Speed bump number 1. A lot better than the higher tire pressures. Next one. Third one. Here's the nasty one. Not bad. On a good day, the 0 to 60 mile per hour time on this vehicle averages around 7 seconds, depending on weather and whether you have it in the sport mode. This Lexus is a nice commuting vehicle. It's small, so you can cut in and out of traffic. And for passing power, the turbo's got plenty of grunt once it kicks in. Very fun to drive car. I'm not complaining. For the next segment on this video, we're going to be doing fuel economy testing, and yes, I will pump up the tire pressures back up to 36 pounds to get the realistic figures, and after we're done with that, I'm going to pump it down to 32 pounds again for my daily driving, non-fuel economy testing. In city driving, this is the worst fuel economy I've gotten thus far, with the tire pressure set to factory specs. We'll be doing some freeway driving coming up. Stay tuned. We're going to take this Lexus sedan out for some fuel economy testing on the expressway, resetting the computer at 0 mpg. So let's see what happens. 21 miles, 63 miles per hour. Oop, make it 62. I stopped for a while. 25.2 mpg. Now we just completed a return trip. Jumped up to 25.6 mpg. This is going to be a third fuel economy test on the expressway and heavy traffic. I'm hoping to get a better mpg reading because of the slower speeds, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. By the way, this is a very quiet, well-insulated vehicle if you're taking lots of expressway trips. We're reaching the end of our journey, so we're going to pull over and see what type of mile per gallon figures we got. Well, here you go, a whopping 29.6 mpg at 68 miles per hour. Guess we're having a good day. Here's my take on the Lexus IS200t. I like it, the quality is great. You might have noticed that the 0 to 60 time of 7 seconds was a bit slower than what you would get off many German cars. That's because this vehicle has a bit more weight packed on it. But if you want to go quicker, you can always order the upgraded Lexus IS350 with a more powerful V6, and that should solve your problem. If you want to see how this Lexus compares to some BMW and Audi vehicles in this price range, I have some videos you might want to watch, and we'll have those links coming up right now. We covered 1,800 miles in a black BMW 3 Series, 1,000 miles in another BMW 3 Series, 1,000 miles in this BMW 2 Series. Love that red paint. 1,000 miles in the Audi A3. And let's don't forget a nice 2017 Audi A4, among others.